Més que un club, more than a club, the value that Barcelona aims to operate by. And Barcelona are without doubt one of the biggest clubs in the world, and many would argue the biggest. And with an honor roll that includes 27 La Ligas, 5 Champions League, 3 Club World Cups, as well as a record 30 Copa del Reys, and much more, it's not hard to see why. And in recent years, their rate of trophy winning has increased exponentially. And a key element of this era of success has been graduates from the Barcelona Academy, La Masia. Barcelona, similar to clubs such as Ajax, have always prided themselves on the quality of their youth coaching, and as a result, they have produced many of the game's finest players. In prior years, they've produced first-teamers including Guillermo Amor, Sergi Barjuan, Francisco Carrasco, and one of the more well-known graduates, Pep Guardiola. And La Masia has had an even bigger impact in recent years, being a major contributor to the recent explosion of trophy wins. If we assume that the recent peak of Barcelona has been from 2008, many of the influential players are from La Masia, such as Valdez, Puyol, Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets, and Messi. And as the years went on, more La Masia players have influenced the squad, such as Jordi Alba, Pedro, and Sergi Roberto. As you can see, La Masia has produced at least one player in almost every position over the last few years. And the peak of La Masia came at the 2010 Balon D'or ceremony. Messi won the award, with Xavi and Iniesta coming second and third, meaning that for the first time, the 3 best players in the world were all from the same club, and all 3 had been trained and come through La Masia. In the same year, Spain won the 2010 World Cup, and 9 of the squad were La Masia products. And in 2011, after Dani Alves went off through injury, Montoya came on and Barcelona had 11 players who had all been in the academy on the pitch, the La Masia 11. Everything was looking up for the academy. But then, this is where things began to go downhill for the academy. There began to be a sharp decrease in academy graduates, and in 2018, Valverde came under heavy criticism for fielding an entire team without a single La Masia graduate for the first time in 16 years. It was clear, Barcelona had a problem, and in this video we'll take a look at what is happening to La Masia. Just before that, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe to help support the channel. We'll continue to upload football content throughout the off-season, so be a part of it. Anyway, let's get into it. When you look at Barcelona's current preferred 11, it may seem strange to suggest that they have any problems with their academy, as it contains 5 former academy players. However, when you consider that Piqué, Messi and Busquets have been in the team for over a decade, Alba left La Masia at 16 and had to be brought back, you begin to realize that only Sergi Roberto has broken through recently, and even he plays at right back, which is not his preferred position. But still, only Sergi Roberto is under 30 out of the current La Masia players in the first 11. To further illustrate this point, this table reveals that in the 2000s, Barcelona were giving debuts to players who went on to make significant contributions fairly often. But since Alba made his debut in 2012, of the graduates to have made over 50 appearances, only Rafinha makes the cut. That's one new settled La Masia graduate in the last 7 years. But to find out more about what's potentially going wrong at La Masia, we must understand its history and how it's run. Just as with Ajax, Johan Cruyff was a major factor in Barcelona getting the academy to such a high standard. La Masia had been started in 1979, but it wasn't until Cruyff came in as Barcelona manager in 1988 that La Masia went to the next level, as he insisted that the club take the academy seriously. He saw the importance of instilling a style of play that can be used from the youth going all the way up to the first team. This would mean that when a player did make his first team debut, he would easily integrate into the team. This style included that all teams should use the famed possession 4-3-3, similar to the Ajax and Sporting Lisbon academy. When bringing up players, Barcelona concentrated on the 3 Ps: possession of the ball, position of the ball, and pressing after the ball. As you can see, physical is not one of these 3 Ps. In fact, they don't even begin weight training in the academy until 17, whereas other clubs tend to bring it in around 14 or 15, such as Arsenal and Bayern Munich. This may explain why La Masia produces slight and very technical players. Their main focus is on developing prowess on the ball, which is why they did not even begin 11 versus 11 training until the age of 13, in order to give players more touches on the ball during their formative years. Barcelona tend to employ young coaches who are former players who are able to continue the Barcelona DNA easily. When Barcelona opened La Masia 360 in 2011, an upgrade on the old La Masia which had become too small and outdated, they expanded this desire by including other sports to help other youths around the city who have an interest in them. The club now extends the holistic approach to developing its residential players to be a part of the academy program across 5 different professional sports. These are football, basketball, futsal, handball, and roller hockey. However, the main draw is the new focus on education. as again they encourage plan Bs for players who will not make it. In fact, you'd be surprised by how little time they spend actually playing football. A typical day at La Masia looks like this. During the week, they wake up at 6:45 AM, eat breakfast and leave for school in the city at 7:30. From 8 AM to 2 PM, it's all about class, before returning to La Masia to eat, rest, and attend a mandatory study group. This means that training is only held from 7 PM to 8:45 PM. But much like Ajax, coaches keep a record of the smallest details of every player, from injuries to morale to technical areas which need to be improved. This allows them to monitor every single player and every single attribute of them that needs to be improved and how it is improving over time. This is the routine of an average La Masia player, and they produce many great players using this way. And in 2014, Barcelona B finished third in the Segunda division, and would have been promoted were it not illegal for the B team and the first team to be in the same league. And in fact, Barcelona have had a La Masia graduate on every Balon d'Or shortlist since 2004. A good return on the €10 million per year they spend on it. But then the first early warning signs of problems began to occur, with Barcelona not holding on to their best products. There began to be a pattern where La Masia prospects would leave Barcelona to advance their development, and in the end Barcelona would have to buy them back. This happened with Cesc Fabregas, Gerard Piqué and Jordi Alba, and they let go of Thiago Alcantara, who went on to be one of the best central midfielders in the world, and they couldn't buy him back. At the same time, where Barcelona had routinely produced candidates for winning the Golden Boy Award, an award for the best under-21 player in Europe, in 2019 only one of the 20 on the shortlist had ever been to La Masia, and even he left the academy 4 years before this list was published. There are quite a few issues, including the fact that only about 1 in 10 La Masia graduates make it to the Barcelona senior team. And to make matters worse, Barcelona B were relegated from Segunda B, despite having the highest budget in the league. And whereas in the 2000s, Barcelona were giving debuts to players who went on to be mainstays on the international stage, there began to be a decrease in the quality of graduate. A few of the graduates who came through recently are Munir, Cuenca, Sandro, and Adama Traore. Now let's look into the reasons that La Masia has dipped. We'll start by looking at Barca B. A key element that you'll see around the best academies around the world is focusing on process goals rather than outcome goals. An outcome goal is a focus on whether you won or lost. The scoreboard is all that matters. In contrast, a process goal focuses on how you played. For example, was your passing good? Was your positioning improved? The accusation lately has been that Barcelona B has been focusing on outcome goals, i.e. whether they win or lose. And the accusation is that they started focusing on outcome goals in order to compete with Madrid's La Fábrica academy. This means that instead of focusing on bringing through youth players, they've started to keep players who couldn't make the step up to the first team in Barcelona B well into their mid to late 20s. They have even begun making more transfers at Barcelona B level, bringing in older players to help them win more matches. However, this blocks the route for the younger players. In addition, Barcelona love using former players to coach the teams. However, does this lead to Barcelona employing some coaches as favors to the former players who are not actually best suited for the job? And obviously, as the game evolves, so do coaching methods. So some sectors have suggested that Barcelona may be insistent on using methods which are outdated. This has had an effect on younger players leaving La Masia. Many players looking to progress their career believe that they'll be better placed to develop their skills and will get more game time by going to a different club. In addition, young players looking up at the first team would struggle to see a potential hole in the lineup, which is not already filled with a world-class player who they have to displace. And then there's always the financial element. Agents have started taking charge of players at younger and younger ages, and as we all know, agents are motivated by money. With agents like Mino Raiola rumored to be in charge of young prospects like Xavi Simons, Barcelona being asked the question of whether they can compete financially with other academies. Can they compete financially? Easily, very easily. But do they want to compete? That's where the grey area is. See, Barcelona want to attract players based on their reputation, based on the player wanting to come to the club and improve themselves by learning the Barcelona culture. But many young players see La Masia as just a prestigious academy to add to their CV, which would allow them to demand more money when they do go professional. And with Barcelona not wanting to splurge too much, they've lost many academy prospects this way. They've recently lost academy starlets Eric Garcia, Adrian Bernabe in this way to Manchester City, and Mbula and Navarro went to Monaco. But Barcelona has always had ways of dealing with talent drain from La Masia. They have an extended number of scouts dotted around the world to find the next great player, but in 2014 they were found guilty of violating transfer regulations. they were found to have violated Article 19 of FIFA's laws by signing international players under the age of 18. As a result, they received a 2-window transfer ban, but by appealing the ban, they had the ban moved back a year, allowing them to prepare for this. And Barcelona brought in players for 170 million, including Suarez, Mathieu, Vermaelen, Rakitic, ter Stegen, and Douglas. However, this meant getting rid of a lot of their former La Masia players to accommodate this, such as Fabregas, Teo, Kirkic, Jonathan, Cuenca, Denis Suarez, De La Feu, and Valdez. And at the same time, the ban meant that they couldn't supplement the quality of their academy with new youngsters acquired to join La Masia, which led to a generational gap between the golden age and the new youngsters. And now, having brought in all these players for 170 million, it blocked several parts of several youth players. After years of criticizing Real Madrid's Galactico approach, lately Barcelona have been opting for big money signings like Ousmane Dembele and Coutinho instead of bringing through the youth, which signals the change in the Barcelona approach. And this change in transfer approach has also been largely dictated by a political element. Barcelona uses a board system where a president is selected to lead the club for a cycle. During the new era, where La Masia was at its peak, Joan Laporta was the president of the club, and he valued the Barcelona identity of bringing through academy players and allocated more funds towards the academy. In addition, at the time Pep Guardiola had been head of the B team and then promoted to the first team, and naturally he knew the best young prospects to promote to the first team. But as the years went on, Josep Bartomeu became the new president. And like any good president, he wanted to leave his mark where he ruled. And how Bartomeu planned to do this was by signing quality players who would get the fans excited in order to help his re-election campaign. And that is just what Barcelona have done, bringing in big names to join their team. All these factors have led to the decline of La Masia. So does this mean that they'll never produce academy graduates for their first team? No, it doesn't. In fact, they have a few promising youngsters in the wings waiting to buck this trend. Barcelona have given Carlos Alena over 20 first-team appearances this year, and with the likes of Riqui Puig and Oriol Busquets waiting in the wings, combined with an aging team, we may be about to witness La Masia bringing through a new generation. And with Ajax showing this year that academies are still a valuable resource, it might just be a matter of time before La Masia 360 produces a new generation of its own. And worst case scenario, they could always sell their La Masia products at a profit, as they have done over the last 10 years, bringing in over 127 million euros. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and I'd appreciate it if you considered subscribing. That's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.